Oh, we're recording. All right. I this feels weird to go like this, but welcome back, everyone. It's your host, Rafał Majewski, for another episode of Cut the Shit, Get Fit. Today's a very special episode because I have a wife sitting beside me, and we are heading to the gym, and she is super not happy that she's doing this, and I told her that she needs to get into the banter, and hopefully as the wheels start going she'll say something, but most likely it's going to be on the lines of how stupid I am. But anyway, we're going to do some shout outs for this episode because I got a new number one, and I actually looked it up and not forgot to. Did you know, this is, I'm talking to you now, babe, that every time I do my solo episodes, probably 9 out of 10 times I always forget to check my top 3 listeners, and I always forget to post that. So
sounds about right.
So all the way in the United Arab Emirates, city of Abu Dhabi. That's the first time it's ever popped up. That's super cool. I've had Dubai on my top 3 before, but number 2, I'm going to butcher this name, as I always do when it comes from different countries, but all the way in Spain, a city called Getco. No fucking clue, so I apologize. Okay, it's spelled Getxo. How would you pronounce that?
I don't know.
Exactly. So I took the bullet and mispronounced it terribly. So I apologize to everyone in Spain that is either laughing or found offense to that. So number 3, in one of the places that we love best, all the way in Ireland, Dublin. Shout out to Dublin for listening to my show. All right, so we are going to get into the topic of foam rolling. And this is where maybe you'll jump in. It's okay if you don't. So I'm currently writing my 2nd volume of my new ebook, The Ironclad Body Training System, Volume 2. And what I've been doing is going through my old information to update it and add things. And I'm got to the point of looking at the foam rolling section, and I think it's a good idea to revisit that on here, because I don't think I've ever brought up this whole idea of foam rolling on my podcast, but I've written a lot about it and obviously had it in my book. But the first thing I want to address, which is like a pet peeve of mine when it comes to foam rolling, maybe there's 2. I lied. There's 2 things that bug me. Number 1, people foam rolling their lower backs. Fucking terrible. So the reason why, and I even had a argument online about this too, with a company that sells foam rollers, because they reached out to me for one of my foam rolling posts about how they wanted me to like become an ambassador for them. And I was like, oh, okay, like this could be cool. And we started communicating back and forth, and then I did a whole post about do not foam roll your low back. And they commented back to me saying that their foam rollers are safe for foam rolling your lower back. And I asked them, can you please tell me why? And they sent me a link just to their website and no specific thing. And I went back like, hey, you never sent me anything. And they just said, no, it doesn't hurt your lower back. And I'm like, okay, well, you just lost yourself an ambassador, because they couldn't like come up with like anything. And that, like, in the fitness industry, like, there's a lot of people that just argue for the sake of arguing, but I like bringing up other people's opinions just to see how their thought process is, and if it makes sense to me, even though I don't agree with it, I can respect that. But in this case, they were just like, no, it doesn't do anything. But if you just look at a couple things. Number 1, if you're an individual with a foam roller, if you've ever foam rolled your back, lower back specifically, it almost feels like it takes your breath away, and it doesn't feel that good. That being said, if you look at the anatomy of our body and you go along your back, where the low back is, you don't have any ribs there. So essentially, when you put your entire body weight on your lower back, you're kind of just throwing your entire body weight onto your kidneys, and that doesn't really feel that good, right? And usually, when you feel pain in your body, it's an indicator, and your body's telling you, hey, this is probably not a good thing to feel. You should probably stop. And it's interesting in the fitness industry where when you do an exercise, it doesn't even matter what it is, and it doesn't feel right or there's pain, people still pursue it for some reason. But in my thought process is like, if I step on a nail and it fucking hurts, I'm not gonna go ahead and keep stepping on the fucking nail. That's how idiotic some people can become with exercise. But again, it comes down to education, and this is why I do a podcast, this is why I write, this is why I post, and so forth. Anyway, foam rolling your low back. One, it doesn't feel good. First indicator that you shouldn't do it. Second, you're not really going to release anything, which is going to be my next thing, where people think that foam rolling is actually going to break up adhesions, which does not actually happen when you foam roll. Like, if you look at the fascia underneath your skin, in order for it to actually break apart, that people say online in presentations, whatever it is, you almost need 2 layers of movement, the top layer of your skin and the muscle layer underneath, to make shear force like this. That's why if you go to an RMT, they can actually probably do that, not you rolling on a pool noodle. It's not going to happen. But there's still some effect where it makes you feel better. And that's the one thing that I believe in when it comes to fitness and health and any kind of rehab, is if you do something that maybe not has adequate evidence in the research world, and is maybe looked at by other professionals in the industries that relate to fitness and health, that think it's pseudoscience, but if you get some sort of relief from it, or it makes you feel better, or you feel like it's progressing you during your recovery, then by all means do it. I don't know where I was going with that. I was on a tangent. But with foam rolling, I always educate clients that you are not going to change tissue quality, because it's nearly impossible with the foam roller. But what you will do is directly communicate to your nervous system, so it can kind of ease off tension. So an example I always give is, if you're a type of person sitting at a desk for 8 to 10 hours every single day, and you decide to go to the gym at the end of your day, and you've been in the same seated position, your body is most likely adapted to that position to keep you there, to keep you more efficient. So if you decide to do things like reverse lunges or squats, those hips are probably not going to feel the greatest. But if you decide to foam roll for like 5 to 10 minutes beforehand, you could probably tell your nervous system not to be so clenched around those hips, and now maybe you have an extra 3 degrees of hip extension, and now those reverse lunges feel really freaking good compared to not doing it, and maybe you strained a muscle or did whatever. Yeah. You know what's really interesting is when I talk about this stuff, and for those at home that don't know, my wife is now entering her 3rd year in medical school of naturopathic medicine, and when I talk about this stuff, I'm like, holy shit, I don't think I know my shit enough for her to like feel that I know what I'm talking about. So you jump in here and tell me if I'm saying shit that's coming out of my ass. But
you're spot on.
So that being said, foam rolling does not change tissue quality, but you can influence and input to your body to feel a little bit looser. That's why there are some professionals in the industry, chiropractors, physios, that look at foam rolling as almost a waste of time, because you don't actually create real change. But again, going back to, if it makes you feel better, go for it. Personally, if I've been sitting at my computer all day and I do like thoracic extension on a foam roller, I feel pretty freaking good. I don't know, like, that's what I would do. Where was I going to go with that? Is there anything you want to add about soft tissue, foam rolling?
I think, honestly, for me, what you're saying is true. And as a student myself, I'm the kind of person that is sitting on the desk for, especially now, like 7, 8 hours. bad as it is, I don't do that. I don't foam roll. And I think if I were to implement that into my daily routine, that would help so much with how much pain and just like the struggles of being a student, sitting in a desk all day. I think that would so help. And so do as we say and not as we do, maybe. Well, maybe in your case, do as you do, because I know you do,
but that also came up to like another idea of mine is like when I get someone foam rolling for the first time, and like this is like an individual that hasn't exercised in a long time, like just getting through the positions of different body parts that you would roll. So think of like if you start at your calves, hamstrings, glutes, quads, hip flexors, IT bands, like all those positions that you have to move, it tends to be pretty taxing on an individual that has like zero adaptation to physical exercise. And I know that a lot of times when I get a new client or patient foam rolling for the first time, they all say the same thing, like, shit, I'm already tired and we haven't even started exercising. Because if you think about like if you had to get into a position where you're foam rolling your quad and you're almost like with one leg out to the side, your forearms are on the ground, and you're almost like in a front plank position, so you're almost like doing some sort of like movement core activation type of exercise. So there's so much more benefit to just like rubbing out the boo-boos essentially. But I think foam rolling got really, really popular in the early 2000s, and even when you look at the research of foam rolling, and I went down the rabbit hole of doing it, it's not that great. Like, kind of like what I said, like if you foam rolled before a workout and you were able to get 3 extra degrees of hip extension, that's basically the extent. And they've done things where they put people in foam rolling programs for like weeks on end for 10 to 20 minutes a day, and they still didn't get any real change. But some good research showing is that if you had soreness in your body and you started foam rolling, you were able to actually flush out all that lactic acid a little bit faster. So I always tell clients, if you had to create like a recovery strategy, that's what I would recommend. And it's also something else to kind of push you in the right direction if you're trying to become more active. And the idea of like, oh, I have to dedicate an entire hour of training is a little daunting. Like, bring out the foam roller and foam roll for 10 minutes. Like, it's better than nothing than staying stuck in one position. And we all know that the lame joke applies here. If you don't use it, you lose it essentially. So imagine if you made the compromise of like, okay, rather than me trying to achieve 4 to 5 days a week of an hour workout, I can do maybe 1 or 2, and then the rest I literally just get off my desk, couch, whatever it is, and foam roll for 10 minutes. Like, at least you're creating the habit of some sort of movement, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure that you probably get some sort of endorphin release from that, because considering what's happening underneath our skin and like all the amount of like nerve endings that come out of our skin, and now you're communicating with it, is probably a pretty good thing. And you know, on top of that, you're probably barefoot at home and you're getting some good feedback there, so like win-win. So that being said, I think that's where we're going to end it, as we're approaching the gym and we're going to get our swole on, you know. That's it for me and my beautiful wife, that you cannot see because she's holding the camera. If you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, feel free to reach out, hit the show notes, add me on Facebook, Instagram, give me a 5-star review on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, wherever the hell you listen to my podcast, because that would be greatly appreciated, because then I can reach more people like out in the United Arab Emirates. Like, that's pretty freaking cool. Thank you, you guys. You guys are amazing. Until next time.